guys, and welcome to the channel. I've done some body language on a few people, and going forward, I'm going to continue to throw some body language in here just because I enjoy the psych aspect of it all. Our bodies telling that we're lying. But I'm going to start with using past tense and missing children. And if a mother is talking in past tense about her child, it is often a linguistic signal that the mother knows or believes the child is deceased. Not always, but mostly. A good question is, how much time must pass in order to hear an innocent person use a past tense reference to a missing person without guilty knowledge of the person's death? The past tense verb is something we listen to carefully for in a missing person's case, especially when it is not expected. The expected is that the subject believes the person missing is alive and should speak in present tense. This is something that has caused confusion for some. One expert guest on the Nancy Grace Show said that a husband of missing woman referenced her in the present tense, thus proving his innocence. But unfortunately, she was wrong in this case. This is like the prime example for not understanding the principles along with the body language and reading analysis way too quickly without absorbing the principle correctly. You need to observe the person and how they talk regularly and how they use their expressions with their body before immediately deciding that they're innocent or that they're guilty. When a child does go missing, the parent will have natural parental denial. A parent would absolutely have hope and believe the child is alive, especially early on. Susan Smith stands as a good example of a guilty parent deceptively reporting her child as missing, as she had killed her two sons, but reported them missing instead. When Susan Smith spoke, she spoke in the present tense, which she should have, but she was still trying to deceive her audience.
Admitted killing her sons, 3-year-old Michael and Alexander.
As Susan Smith entered the free editing process, she was choosing words for herself, freely speaking and using present tense, which is appropriate. But suddenly, she slipped up, what I call a Freudian slip. But she only slipped once and said, "My boys needed me." That is honestly all it took. Susan had just reported her kids missing, and the police had not told her anything if they had found anything to lead her to think her children were dead. This is, of course, a red flag. She was showing knowledge that they were dead by this verb tense because she had drowned both of them. A mother of a missing child who slips up even once and references the child in the past tense may either know or believe her child is dead. We must then find out why this mother believes her child is dead. Did the police tell her something awful, or did she kill the child? Why would she speak of the child, particularly against natural parental denial that we have whenever this happens? And she speaks as if the child is deceased. Well, most of us seek to find the truth. Most of us that follow true crime, murders, mysteries, conspiracies, all of it, know the name Billie Dunn, Haley Cummings' mother. She did an interview, and in the first few minutes on her appearance on the Nancy Grace Show, she was asked, "How far did Haley have to go?" And Dunn said, 4 or 5 blocks. She wasn't allowed to. Next, Grace asked, "Well, what happened?" To which Dunn said, "She went missing while I was at work," which actually addresses two principles. In these two short answers, Billie Jean Dunn told the audience that her daughter was dead, not missing, and that she definitely needed an alibi. Nancy Grace did not ask her, when did Haley go missing? But in deflection of the question, Billie spoke of her own free editing process, that which was her biggest concern, as if to say, she went missing while I was at work, so don't go blaming me. I wasn't even home. Obviously, this is not a quote, but a display of her priority, as you would say. The deceptive person will always try, without fail, to speak in present tense. It is not an indication of innocence. It is merely expected. Another case of murder and mystery that we all know too familiar with. Kaylee loved the park, Casey said. In case there's someone new, Casey Anthony is who I'm speaking of. But then she quickly recovered her statement with loves the park. Oops. That slip was something that a mother of a missing child is not likely to use, especially one that had claimed the child is with the babysitter Zanny the nanny, right? So when analyzing statements like this, for example, it's to be expected that the deceiver will absolutely try to stay in present tense, but the Freudian slips always come out. So when the unexpected does come out, then we absolutely have to apply the analysis. We, as the viewers or interviewers, expect to hear only present tense. It is the expected and it does not prove anything. The innocent and the guilty both use the present tense. This is why we seek to get people to speak on their own accord, freely, and answer questions at length. When a person goes missing, there are factors to also consider. How close is the subject to the person that has gone missing? A mother would be the closest. Mother and child relationship is highly personal. A grandmother raising a child would be very close, similar to the mother. How much time has passed would be the next one. If the person just went missing, we would not expect past tense references from anyone yet. If the child had been missing for months, resistance to accepting death is much less. What circumstances are surrounding the missing person? For example, if the person's missing at sea or in sub-zero weather, the natural resistance to referring to the missing person in the past tense will absolutely be diminished. If the child is supposedly with someone, example, a babysitter, is the babysitter known to be violent? Did the person go missing at the hands of a murderous pedophile? Generally speaking, mothers have a very, very powerful instinct over their own children and have the highest level of resistance, which is denial, to accepting that a child is deceased. The power of denial is so real, especially with the mother, with the instincts with her child. And so you will hear parents that children have gone missing and later found to be murdered or just dead. They speak in present tense still. They have a hard time moving on and like putting it in their head that their child is gone. That is how strong denial can be. So when a parent that has a child that's gone missing speaks of past tense and like immediately days after, that is why it is a huge red flag most of the time. So then comes the question, when is it okay to talk past tense? There are no set timelines. This is where the skills of the analysts come in. In a case like Haley or Kaylee, it was so early that there was no expectation of past tense language. Haley Cummings, whose stepmother was the babysitter the night she went missing, hours after she had reported her missing, she had said, I loved, I loved that little girl as if she was my own. Not only was it a past tense reference, but the word that is distancing a language. Here are some guidelines to follow in analysis. Analysis is built with clay building, not with bricks, because it's got to be able to remain to have stuff to move inside of it. Regional dialects, phrases, and so on are all in play. Educational level, intelligence, emotional health, everything is part of the equation on their body language. None of it negates analysis, but the skillful analysis learns to not use a microscope to find deception. Interesting, they call it micro expressions. But step back for a bigger picture. Mothers of missing babies are filled with flames of instinct, protective capacity, and intuition, and fathers are to follow. So ask yourself, how close is this person crawling or drawing? A baby who yet cannot crawl is an example as well. Men will yield to the past tense earlier than females. Women seem to have stronger denial than a man. Mothers are usually the last to give up hope. Another factor is, have the police given the family any indication or information of death? This is important. If police have shared info with a family, it could cause someone to speak in the past tense. That only makes sense, right? All right. And last, the personality of the subject is important. Someone who suffers from depression will yield earlier in giving up hope and speak in past tense than a person who, for example, has a natural buoyant personality, always up, always optimistic. That should be something the analysis takes into account in consideration. So, those are a few tips that I use when looking at body language and trying to sort out if I think someone's being truthful or deceptive. So, if you like them, comment below, let me know. I can give you some more. All right, like, subscribe, share it out. I'll see you guys.